Prologue. 2 years about 2 years have passed. The three major powers of the Landia continent, the Declarer of Humanity, led by the Grand Chaos Empire, the Marimi Alliance, formed by the Kingdom of Fredonia, the Republic of Turgis, and the Nine-Headed Dragon Archipelago Union, and the Fugofakon, consissency of the Great Tiger Kingdom of Han, the Lunarian Orthodox Papal State, and half of the Garland Spirit Kingdom, were all compengi with each other, and then suddenly an outbreak occurred called the Curse of the Spirit King, or the Latent Blood Magic Bug Syndrome, aka Magic Bug Disease. In the past 2 years, the continent has been at peace as the nuns of the world have come together to deal with the sudden outbreak. Although the Demon Lord's domain SLL exists to the north, there's been no mass outbreak of monsters like in the case of the Demon Wave, and no country has been destroyed or annexed. However, everyone understood that this peace was only temporary. Even though the Demon Lord's domain is silent at the moment, it SLL exists, and Fuga is also there with great ambience. With a sense that this will soon become a big upheaval, each country has begun to take AC on with an eye to the future in this momentary calm. First, let's talk about Fuga's Great Tiger Kingdom, which is expected to become the eye of the storm in the future. For the past 2 years, Fuga has been aggressively expanding its territory into the Demon Lord's domain. By increasing its land area and population by bringing back refugees who had fled to the south, it steadily accumulated its power, and as a result, its land area grew to rival that of the empire. Also, by liberating the Demon Lord's domain, he steadily increased his fame and solidified his position as a great man of this era. On the diplomacy front, he strengthened his relations with the Orthodox Papal State and the Father Island of the Spirit Kingdom, and with these additions, he's now in a position to surpass the nominal power of the empire. In terms of internal policies, they've been learning medical technology from the kingdom and the empire, while also working to improve the shortage of bureaucrats by recruiting personnel from a wide range of fields. By taking advantage of Fuga's fame and calling on the people, he seems to have absorbed those who are dissatisfied with the current situation, those who are eager to make a name for themselves in the north, and those who feel a sense of romance in Fuga's heroic tale. In particular, the adventurers who were scattered all over the world seem to have gone to the Fuga's territory in droves. The land has just been liberated and there's plenty of work to be done. For adventurers who come and go from country to country and have no attachment to a particular country, the north is a land of romance. It seems that adventurers from other countries have all headed north, were the words of Juno, an adventurer who came to the evening tea party accompanied by the queens. For adventurers who are both mercenaries and freelancers, the north is probably the frontier. Incidentally, when I asked if Juno and her party were going to the north, she laughed and shook her head. In this country, adventurers can maintain a reasonable standard of living, and it's easy to go to school and get another job if you want to quit. The king's measures to improve the treatment of slaves are also helping to improve the treatment of people like us who are looked down upon in society. The only adventurers who are safe in the kingdom or elsewhere who go all the way to the inconvenient north are the very ambitious or stupid. Saying that, Juno drank her tea and looked a little more serious. On the contrary, I guess it means that those who can't get this kind of treatment and tend to be looked down upon are drawn to the north. They want to make a comeback from their disadvantaged lives. They have nothing to lose, so it's an easy gamble for them. Juno's words sent a shiver down my spine. So many ambitious people are gathering one another under a man with big ambitions. It may be difficult for them to solve the bureaucracy shortage as Fuga hoped, but it seems that a more troublesome group is forming. Next, let's look at Maria's Grand Chaos Empire. The scale of the Declarer of Humanity had shrunk, and the world was talking about Fuga, but Maria continued to be the saint of the empire. While Fuga was expanding his territory, Maria was focusing on her own country. She used our country as a reference and recruited talented people to improve the old ways Leela by Leela, and if there was any learning or technology that she didn't have in her country, she asked for lessons from other countries without worrying about her pride as a great power. They've learned medicine from my country, and technology from the Republic and the Archipelago Union. They've also been working with us to make slavery a thing of the past, even before the Republic and the Archipelago Union, and in the field of social security, they've become as livable as our country. As a result, the support from the people of the empire has been increasing, and the name, Saint of the Empire, has not waned. On the other hand, the highest-ranking knights and noblemen didn't like the fact that Fuga was stealing the world's Uenon, and they advised Maria to deploy troops to the Demon Lord's domain, but Maria didn't change her stance of focusing on Dome Sea affairs, so they're apparently growing dissatisfied. Regarding this, Maria said, "I think I've said this before, but if the country grows any larger, it will only increase the number of places where our eyes cannot reach. If we get caught up in tolls and the like, we'll miss out on what's important," she said, sounding red from the broadcast MNG. Next, let's talk about our friends in the Marimi Alliance. First, Ku's Turkish Republic. Returning home and assuming the position of head of state, Ku had been working on technological innovations for the Republic, with Taru at the helm. Using a roto-NG mechanism developed jointly with the kingdom and the empire, he used a drilling machine to make holes and tunnels in the mountains within the Republic, and began to improve the transporter network, which had been closed by snow in the winter. This made it possible to travel between cities that could only be reached by Numoth, a hairy mammoth-like cavalry animal, and also solved the chronic shortage of food by allowing the exchange of trade goods with other countries. They're also building a ski based on my advice, or rather, what I spilled, and are constructing a ski resort near the hot spring resort of Noble Dep. It seems that they're seriously aiming to earn foreign money through leisure skiing. They also gave us an invite on. In addition to that, it seems that the enthusiast CQ has asked the genius engineer Taru to do various remodeling to the country, so it may turn into a country that we don't recognize. Speaking of Q, it seems that he's going to marry Taru and his follower Liparina. I thought he'd marry her as soon as he got back, but he had his hands full with Dome Sea overhauls and had been PNG it off. Along with the invite onto the ski resort and earlier, there was also an invite onto the wedding. Does that mean we can end the wedding and go skiing in the same trip? I'm trying to arrange it so that we can go together as a family. Next, another ally, the Nine-Headed Dragon Archipelago Union. I've been calling it the Archipelago Union, but in the past 2 years, Shaban has centralized the power of the Union and it has become the Nine-Headed Dragon Archipelago Kingdom, for short. With the help of the previous king, Shana, and her husband and regent, Kishhan, she seems to have solidified her position as the Nine-Headed Dragon Queen over the Enri Archipelago. Shaban has established technical cooperation with the kingdom and the republic, and the country is learning from the continent and building up its power. In Parkola, each island's separate Marimi forces have been combined and reorganized into the Queen's Fleet, that operates under a single will. If another giant unknown creature like Oi Imizuchi were to appear, there wouldn't be a lack of unity. The establishment of the fleet also allows for freer traffic between the islands than ever before, and we're earning foreign currency by helping their country trade with the empire. Also, Shaban has been married to Kishhan for the past 2 years. Perhaps it's because of the custom in the Nine-Headed Dragon Archipelago to combine the family name and the surname, but the family name remains the same even if you become a wife or son-in-law, and they've had 1 girl and 1 boy. The first child, Princess Sharon, will be Archan's fiancée, as promised earlier. Once, when Shaban and Kishhan brought her to visit, I let them meet, but the slow-paced Chan just looked at her blankly, while Kazuha seemed more interested in Princess Sharon. She and her mother-in-law may be on good terms. Next, let's talk about the Nuthung Dragon Knight Kingdom, which is not a member of the Marimi Alliance, but with which we have a relationship. Queen Silmont, who succeeded her father as king of the Dragon Knights, began to operate the Dragon Knights as couriers, as she'd said before. The Dragon Knight Kingdom, which is surrounded by Fuga's forces, is now trading with Fuga's forces, or rather, Fuga hasn't adopted a blockade strategy, but they've received permission from the Star Dragon mountain range to fly over the southern part of the continent only occasionally as couriers. Because of their alliance with the dragon tribe, they can be trusted to transport goods and dignitaries from one country to another, so they're used by the Marimi alliance and the nuns of the Declaration of Humanity. In our case, it was used for the temporary return of Piltree, the ambassador to the empire, and for Jeanne's request, or rather, summoning and lecturing, of Trill, who's also the ambassador to the kingdom. It seems that the national treasury is richer than it was when she was only a Civazar knight. And finally, our country. About the kingdom of Fredonia. For the past 2 years, our country has been making steady progress in trade with other countries, developing technology, and strengthening our military. Particularly in the area of technological development, the overseen ST team of Gina, Marula, and Trill had been given priority for research based on the theory of magicium equals nanomachines that was revealed during the research of magic bug disease. As a result, the theory that the cursed ore used to power the drilling machine were the remains of magicium that had lost their functionality and were only able to recharge, was becoming more and more popular. As this became clearer, the understanding of the function of the cursed ore as a storage tank for magical power deepened, and it became possible to apply it in various fields. Incidentally, the first applied product was a lighter that didn't require gas or oil. It's very easy for those who can use fire magic to prepare a spark, but this lighter stores the magic power of other magic holders in the built-in spell ore and converts it into fire magic using a formula engraved on the lighter to create a spark. To put it bluntly, the utility of this lighter was zero. It costs so much to make one of these that you could probably buy a small destroyer, and they serve the same purpose as an oil lighter. If I could use flame magic, I wouldn't even need it. Although it has no practical use, the functions of storing and transforming magic power is a technology that can be applied in various fields, and I have high hopes for its future development. In terms of military equipment, we had only one island carrier, the Ryu, but with the compulsion of the second ship, the Saoryu, and the third ship, the Unryu, we now had 3 ships. By using Tomo's abilities, we were able to prepare an environment for the training of wyverns and expand our air power at the same me. This made it possible for us to transport air power across the ocean in multiple directions. This means that 3 points can be bombed from the sea at the same me, so from the perspective of other countries, it's a considerable threat. The countries that understand this are almost all our allies. Fuga's forces, for example, don't see it as a danger because they're land-oriented and have difficulty recognizing the importance of sea power. And on a personal note, our family has grown by 1 in the past 2 years. This is because Juna got pregnant and gave birth to her second child. Juna's second child is a boy, and we named him Kaito. She named him the image of the sea, that made a strong impression on Juna. Other than that, there were no other changes. Both my wives and I are over 20 years old, although there are 2 of us whose ages are unspecified, and our appearance hasn't changed much in the past 2 years. However, there are those whose appearance has changed considerably over the past 2 years. April, 1552nd year of the continental calendar. Tomo, Ikaiga, and Yoraiga graduated from the Royal Academy.